And I gladly yield 5 minutes to my good friend, my colleagues from the District of Columbia, Ms. Norton, currently is chairwoman of the Subcommittee on Economic Development in the Transportation Committee. Ms. Norton.
Gentlewoman from the District of Columbia is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for serving. I especially thank him for the disproportionate service of his own constituents in this war. As the House prepares to consider a bill for the first full House vote in 2 centuries for the tax-paying American citizens who live in the nation's capital that have fought in all our wars, I dedicate these words to the first D.C. resident to die in the Iraq War, 21-year-old National Guard Specialist Darrell Dent of the 54th Transportation Company, and to the other residents of the District of Columbia who have died in this war without a vote in this House. Like the soldiers from every state and territory, Specialist Dent did not have the luxury of equivocation. He acted, so must we. With uncommon bravery, loss of life, and unique injuries, our troops have acted, so must we. The resolution before us asks quite simply, whose side are we on? Do we support our troops best by committing another 20,000 to a war where only they must act and only they are accountable? Do we support our troops by sending more of them to another Battle of Baghdad while the insurgents scatter to return as before, unless, of course, our troops are to be permanently deployed in the crosshairs of a civil war? Do we support our troops by sending 20,000 more whose lives will be in the hands of Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, the man we are asked to believe will help put down the militias responsible for civil war conditions, although their leaders are part of his government? Madam Speaker, the vote this resolution seeks is about our troops, more than about the war. 4 years of worsening insurgency have rendered a verdict of its own on the war that even great powers cannot alone win another country's civil war without its leadership and without diplomacy. Yet another verdict on this war has been rendered by the migration of 2 million Iraqis, among them the physicians and other professionals who will be desperately needed in post-war Iraq. The 50,000 monthly who flee for safety have created the largest refugee crisis in the Mideast since 1948. No, Madam Speaker, dispatching 20,000 more American troops to Iraq is not about the war. It is about those troops and the troops that are already there. Most tragically, this war will be remembered for citizen soldiers like Specialist Darrell Dent, the largest number to be uprooted from family and jobs since World War II. Recently, more than 60% of the fatalities were National Guard soldiers who typify average Americans, computer operators, teachers, police officers, who joined to serve at home, but were always ready and willing to serve anywhere. By what right do we call on them again, some for the second or third time? Devoted though they remain, declining enrollment has had to be bolstered by increasing incentives to preserve the invaluable all-volunteer military. Here in the Capitol, the Guard's unique mission to protect the federal presence is at risk, just as those called away from every state have weakened homeland protection and security. As Mississippi and Louisiana Guard troops were serving in Iraq, Guard units from every state except Hawaii plus 7,500 active duty soldiers were necessary during Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. By what right do we surge troops into Iraq? Are we about to throw more citizen soldiers and weekend warriors with truncated training into a war with results like those of 2005? Reserve and Guard soldiers were 10% of the fatalities during major combat in March and April 2003, and by August 2005, 57% of U.S. fatalities were reservists that year. How can we ask our troops to give yet again? They have given to the preemptive war against weapons of mass destruction that did not exist. They have given as the war morphed into a war for democracy that is not yet in sight. The question before us, my friends, is not what will the president do or even what will we do. The question before us is what more can we ask our troops to do? After 4 years of repetitive, brave combat duty, the question answers itself. Let the troops pass the baton to the Iraqis, bring our troops home to their children, their families, their mortgages, and yes, to all of us.